Hey, this is Derek with Cafe Realty. I am back with another video. Today, I wanted to talk about getting started in commercial real estate and overall how your approach to getting into commercial real estate or real estate in general needs to reflect your personal circumstances. Many times the advice is very much the same because the people who are giving the advice have a similar background. So if you have a similar background and you're telling somebody, hey, just do what I did, but that person doesn't have that similar background, certain things will be the same, other things won't be the same. And so if you're coming from a different background than the person who's talking to you, then you need to factor that into your consideration of how you're going to get started and what you need to do to make things work. I did a previous video about this and I talked about how many times people won't achieve success because they think it has to look a certain way. I have to take this pathway to success. Now, let me give some caveats. There may be a situation where somebody's telling you, okay, in order to do this, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Now, that person could be telling you the right thing, or that person could be telling you the wrong thing. This is a situation where emotional intelligence really plays into your ability to achieve success for the long term, because you have to have enough emotional intelligence and critical thinking skills to be able to tell whether the advice that you're receiving, what part of it applies to you and what part doesn't apply to you. Because many times we'll hear advice, and as I said, we're hearing it from a person from a certain background, a person maybe from a certain class, and their advice to some degree doesn't apply to you. So you have to figure out, when they're telling their story, this story applies to them because of a certain background that they come from, background being race, religion, or lack thereof, a socioeconomic class, a country, etc. There's all of these different factors that affect how we're able to achieve different things today in society. And so, somebody's telling you something, you really have to be able to look and see, is their advice coming from where I'm coming from? Because there may be some steps that I need to take that they didn't have to take. So I might be bumping my head up against the wall trying to figure this out or trying to follow their steps. But there's things that they may have left out, such as they didn't feel that they were super wealthy, but their parents, by the standards, were upper middle class, but they didn't feel like it because they just, oh, this is the way we feel everybody grows up. But they may be upper middle class and you may have grown up in poverty. So things that they may have taken for granted might not be things that you can take for granted. So when you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I achieve that same level of success? You might feel like I'm doing everything right, but it's not working out. And it cannot be working out because there's certain factors that somebody might not take into account that help them to achieve their success. So when you're trying to do what you need to do, you need to be able to have that emotional intelligence and critical thinking skills in order to be able to figure out what you need to do, how you need to maneuver differently in order to achieve your goals. So if you're looking to get into commercial real estate, really the first step is taking account of where you currently are in life. That means, what sort of strengths do you have? What are your weaknesses? What areas do you need to improve in? Do you have great credit? Do you have horrible credit? Do you have family members with 401ks or IRAs or some sort of funding source that you could use? Do you not have a family with anything? Does your family have no net worth? You have to figure that out. The Federal Reserve Board of Governors has a chart of wealth in America, and they break it down by race. And within races, it breaks it down by the asset class. I believe there's 8 categories, so I'm definitely not going to remember them all, but there are categories such as real estate, private business equity, consumer durable goods, defined pensions, pension contributions or something. I can't remember what it's exactly called, but there's 8 categories. And From 2019 to 2025, white wealth went from 100 trillion to 148 trillion. So in that 5-year span, white wealth went up 48 trillion and some change in a 5-year period. Black wealth went up less than 1 trillion. It went from 6 trillion, like 6.01, 6.06 trillion to 6.96 trillion. And so the gap between black wealth and white wealth spread even further. So the thing is, somebody might be talking to you and they're giving you advice from their perspective, but the reality is that over that 5-year period, black wealth as a whole went down while white wealth went up substantially. So when somebody's telling you, their reality may not be your reality. If you're trying to compete with somebody and you don't understand the realities, or if you don't understand the numbers behind the reality, then you'll feel frustrated. You'll feel that you're trying your hardest, but things aren't working out. And it can be because just there's different factors. You could come from different backgrounds, or even when it comes to wealth, you may come from an upper middle class black family, but you're dealing with somebody in an upper middle class white family, and the numbers that you need to be an upper middle class black family and an upper middle class white family, those wealth numbers are drastically different. It is a much lower barrier to become upper middle class black than it is to become upper middle class white. And even within race, there's just differences in income and differences in wealth. There are, I want to say, 50% of black households have zero to negative wealth. And then a small percentage, or a smaller percentage of households have, I don't want to go through all the numbers because I don't have them in front of me, and that's not what the whole purpose of this video is. The purpose of this video is the fact that you need to change your strategy based off of what your current situation is. And when it comes to investing in commercial real estate, some of the things that you need to look out for is that the lease time can be much longer with commercial real estate than it is with residential real estate. So it may take you much longer to find a commercial tenant than it'll take you to find a residential tenant. Sometimes it could go fast, but in many cases, it's going to go a long period of time. The type of contractors you're dealing with can be different depending on what scale of commercial project you're dealing with. With that, the construction numbers may be larger. So you may need more money to come into these deals. For my brokerage, Cafe Realty, we are a commercial real estate brokerage, but also an investor-focused brokerage. We handle both residential and commercial investment. Part of the reason I do that is because different people are coming from different backgrounds and different means. And so my company allows people to go from starting off to getting full-time into commercial real estate investment. And many times when you're talking about going back to my original thing of it may take longer to find tenants for a commercial space, the reason I focus on residential investment along with commercial investment is because sometimes because that residential may lease up faster or it may sell faster, sometimes you're using that residential real estate investment to support you while you're trying to get your commercial development up or leased out. So that can be everything from having an Airbnb, which the income from the Airbnb provides income to support you while you're looking to lease out some of your units. It could be income to purchase a property. It can be a flip a residential flip that allows you the down payment for your commercial property. It can be rentals, which provide stable base or collateral for commercial property. The gist is sometimes people will just say, oh, you got to go all in. And that's what I was trying to say. In the commercial real estate brokerage end of things, it's very much where people just say you either have to be all residential or all commercial. And part of what I thought of was the fact that even myself, I can't go full time into commercial properties. For example, I have a property that qualifies to be converted to a general commercial in the city of Austell. I could turn this easily into a restaurant space or retail space. It's surrounded by commercial, and I've already talked to our city staff and they would love for it to be commercial. The problem is, as a residential property, which is what it currently is, I know that it's relatively easy for me to find a tenant to go into the property and then help me to pay the mortgage each month. If I convert it to a retail space or a restaurant space, first of all, there's going to be massive amounts of money needed for the conversion, especially if we're doing a use that's like a restaurant where you're talking about grease traps, ADA compliance, you're talking hood vents, you're talking major retrofitting of the property. Then we have to find a tenant that's going to be qualified. And this is going to be a major chain, or this isn't going to be a McDonald's. This isn't going to be a Popeyes. This isn't going to be a large restaurant. This is going to be a small scale restaurateur or retail establishment. And it may take a while, and you have to look at the market. I'm in the city of Austell. We're in downtown Austell, or my property's located in downtown Austell. It is not the most poppin' place. It's not Midtown. It's not Buckhead. There's not the demand currently for commercial tenancy like there is in other areas. So I may sit on that property for months to years before somebody would ever lease it out and I get my money. And then that's assuming that once those years pass, that the person who then goes in actually lasts long enough for me to recoup that investment. The entire time I have to pay the mortgage, I have to pay the maintenance, the property taxes, and it's going from residential to commercial, so it should be a higher property tax. And if you don't have the financial reserves for that, if you don't have other resources coming in to support that property, then there is no way you're going to be able to survive. And many people just try to look over it, just be like, oh no, you'll figure it out. And it's just a hope and a prayer. But I like to take a more structured approach to how we do things, because structured approaches, although boring, can wind up with more reliable results and more reliable results of success, I would say, versus you just wing it. And sometimes you get somebody who just knocks it out of the park, gets that home run, but most people strike out. And what you'll hear about is that one person that hit the home run, rather than the hundreds of people who struck out. You're going to hear that one home run and you're going to think, I'm going to be that home run because obviously I'm so special, I'm so talented. And of course, whatever I put my mind to is going to just work out the way I want it to work out. And so that's a strategy, but is it the best strategy? Is it a strategy that is going to give more successful results at a higher probability? Is it going to give you success at a higher probability? Most likely it's not. So what you want to do is just take an approach that will allow you the highest chance of success. And so for me, that is developing a base of residential. And I say residential simply because once again, this always depends on where you're coming from. Some people have enough income, you have the family wealth to be able to get into it, or it may just be a situation of, for example, real estate in downtown Atlanta or midtown is going to be very expensive compared to land or a property in Macon, for example. So it may be a situation of, okay, our money doesn't go far in the core of Atlanta, but maybe our money can go far in the core of Macon. And so it's just really taking account of what your resources are and moving according to that. So the reason I'm talking about potentially starting a residential is because some of my clients, that will be the only way they're able to eventually scale up into commercial. Some may be able to immediately go into commercial, and sometimes you just don't know. And that's why you have people such as myself who could help direct you or provide some perspective when you're looking to get started in commercial real estate investing. And why may you want to go into commercial real estate investing versus staying in the residential side? One big difference is just the numbers get larger. So it's, if you're putting together, for example, I'll say with the Airbnb, because I mentioned Airbnb earlier. If you create an Airbnb out of a single family house where, say, for example, you are earning $10,000 per month, and we will actually make this better. We're going to say you're earning $10,000 profit per month. So you might be bringing in $25,000, and after you pay off all your expenses, you're netting $10,000 every single month. So you have this property that's bringing in $25,000 a month, and over 12 months, $300,000 in gross income. What is that property worth? If it's a residential property, it doesn't matter whether it grosses $300,000 or $30,000. The comps are based off of other residential properties in the area. Now you convert that same property into a commercial property, and the valuation then increases significantly because the income will then affect the value of that commercial asset. So maybe the house is worth $250,000 as a residential house, but as a commercial property that generates $300,000, it could be worth $1.5 million. I'm just throwing numbers out there. But the gist is, it becomes a factor of the net operating income of the property, the cap rate, and it becomes a factor of a calculation for value rather than just what are the comps. Once again, with the residential property, the value of that asset is based off of the local comps in the area, despite what the income generated from that asset is. So if you're going to do the work, commercial allows you to get more bang for your buck from the work that you're putting in. That's why you may want to move into commercial real estate investing, simply because the numbers get larger. And if you're going to do a deal, you're going to put in the time, you're going to put in the effort. Why not get more for your buck? But don't feel that you have to try to go from 0 to 100. And that's what kind of loses a lot of people. They don't want to learn the basics. They don't want to start at step one. They want to go from, I have never owned a property, to owning a 100, 200, 300 unit property. And I'm not saying that it's not a reality, but the numbers are so small. It's like hitting the lottery. Sure, is there someone who hits the lottery? Absolutely. Is that most likely going to be you? Probably not. Many people will just try to sell you the dream of just, you can do it, just a lot of mind talk, just pump you up. And partially that's because of you too. It's because of people understand you. And they know that you don't want to hear that I need to start here. You want to go from, I'm a kindergartner, to college calculus. You just want to go from, you want to skip all the steps and you want to go straight to just like the top. And the thing is, you have to put in the work. You have to learn your ABCs, your colors, your numbers. You have to learn these basics. You want to go from step 0 to step 100, and people realize that because you're impatient. You just want to get it now. You're always thinking, I'm so old, or it's too late for me, or I need to speed up right now. I got to do it right now. And the thing is, if you would have done that 5 years ago, you would have been in a better position today. But you're trying to unnaturally speed up the process. And that becomes your weakness. Until you're dead, it's not over. So if you start today, I guarantee you it will go faster than you realize. But don't try to rush it. So don't get caught up with people who are telling you just go full into this, go in full into that, because with some of these people who are telling you these things, what they do not tell you is that, for example, I have a nephew that's going to be coming to work for me. And my nephew, I will be giving him access to my resources. So he will be able to speed up. I'll be giving him all of the knowledge that I have. He'll have access to his uncle, who's a commercial real estate broker. He'll have access to his uncle, who's a licensed general contractor, and his uncle, who's a developer. So when it comes to like him purchasing a house, who you think's going to help him out? Who you think's going to help him out with that? It's going to be his uncle. So then he'll be on Instagram saying, yeah, I bought my first duplex, or getting my duplex built, or something of that nature. And people be like, man, how was this young kid able to do this? And they don't know. He has an uncle who's a licensed general contractor and a real estate broker, who is able to help him to find the best property, or to pull the permit, and has all of the contractors and everything to make it happen. So the thing is, where my nephew will be starting compared to somebody who's in a different situation, who may be the same age but doesn't have an uncle who owns multiple rental property, who owns a construction company, who owns a commercial real estate brokerage, his starting point is different compared to others. So somebody might see him, and he might be, because he's still young, and he'll probably want to try to show off to people or show off to friends or something like that to some degree where he can. And that right there will have some people feeling, oh man, and he'll be like, oh yeah, all you got to do is this and this. But you don't know the resources behind that. And so for you, if you don't have that uncle, because I didn't have that uncle, but what I did have is I had a 2-parent household. I had parents who owned the home that they lived in. I had grandparents who owned the homes that they live in. And while some people may not look at that as a big thing, if you did not have that, if you are from a family who's rented for generations, who didn't have any equity built up, who comes from single parent households, and there's nothing wrong with coming from a single family household, but a 2-parent household is better. To have both parents, to have both incomes in the household, winds up being better, assuming one of the parents or both parents aren't toxic. Coming from a 2-parent household was an advantage for me, although somebody else might not look at it as a privilege, but that was a privilege that I had. Home ownership was a privilege, considering that over 50% of Black households historically have not owned their own homes. And to have both my grandparents and my parents own homes, that's a certain level of privilege that I came from. And so overall, it's just understanding where you came from, what your resources are, and making the best of that situation. And using your critical thinking skills, but really coming at it from a perspective that here's where I'm at, and this is what I may have to do different than what somebody advised me to do. And so that ends my video for now. I absolutely think you need to get involved in commercial real estate. How you get involved, you may be able to get into it right off the bat. You may need to get started at a smaller level, maybe a house hack, and then build your way up from there. So that's what I'm doing. And yeah, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and please actually write in the comments, light my comments up, because what's happening is a lot of people are actually personally reaching out to me, actually calling my real estate brokerage or sending me an email. And what happens is everybody wants me to provide an individual response to them when I don't get paid for I want to help people, but I cannot individually help out each person. The whole purpose of the YouTube channel is that it gives people a place where I can talk to many people at once, because I make my money buying, selling, building, leasing real estate. That's how I make my money. I don't make any money through this YouTube channel. It's more so just a way to communicate with people, to talk about what I do for a living, and to provide some guidance for anyone who finds this interesting. And so please go to the comments, get it buzzing, right? Ask me questions, ask all of the questions in there, because your question is the same question that someone else has. I can guarantee you, because you've called me or you've texted me, and I appreciate that. But once again, I don't have time to really go through all of them, because I simply have a actual business of doing what I say I'm doing. So I have to actually focus on that. And it just takes a lot out of me. So please write in the comments, share this with anybody who you think this will be of value to. I am located in the Atlanta Metro. My real estate brokerage is Cafe Realty, and it's online at caferealty.com. My construction company is Code Black Construction. That is CODE Black Construction, licensed general contractor. Feel free to hit me up if you have a project that you're looking to get an estimate on. I'd be glad to speak with you. And until the next video, I'll see you.